Hello, this is Pierre Sabak. I am talking at ican.planet.com. I have just finished a talk in which I today discussed the traditions of the Jinn. The etymology of Jinn is closely related to Jinn, which is hide or conceal. Jinn, a serpent, so the serpent itself is to be hidden. There are different categories of the Jinn which I would like to talk about. Include the Ifrit coming from the Arabic verbal root fritar, to deceive. Then we also have the Marid, and we also have a classification of the Jinn called the Ghoul. The Ghoul in the Arabic is related etymologically to Gol, which is destruction. Arabic etymologists trace the noun Ghoul back to Gala, which is to seize, which would suggest that this type of entity or being is identified with the reptile. Again, we see that there's an alignment between rapir, or the reptile, and rapir, which is to rape or to seize. So the reptile or the Jinn is typically represented as a conqueror. Indeed, in the Sanskrit language we see that there's a relationship between Jinnah, which is a conqueror, and the word Jinn in the Arabic, which is a classification of a type of being. Now, in the Aramaic language, the word Jinn is sometimes translated as a ghost. So we see that there is a relationship, if you like, between the reptile and the ghost, or the spiritual realms. So, for example, spirit is connected to spire, which is to breathe, and spiro, which is the coil of a reptile. So the signifier of the spirit can represent both the Jinn, or it can be represented with the dragon. Arab theologians tend to classify the Jinn as a separate category from the angels. This is said because the angels themselves do not have free will, whereas the Jinn and humans are said to have free will. In many respects, the Jinn are very similar to human beings in that they are defined as a separate species, and they have their own set of rules, and they also have free will like mankind. The difference really between the Jinn and the human being is the Jinn's ability, particularly in mythology, to be able to take on a serpentine form. And in this respect, the Jinn are very similar to what we would categorize as a fallen angel. The angel itself, or the symbol of the angel, is interchangeable with the dragon. Now, there are related etymologies with the Jinn. So, for example, Majun is to be mad, literally to conceal the intellect. As we said earlier, the Jinn means to conceal, which is related to Jen, a serpent. Also, we see the relationship between Zahif, which is a reptile, and Zaif, which is a counterfeit, or something which is pseudo. So, in many traditions, the Jinn is said to be a trickster, or is said to be able to deceive. Mythologically, this is often related to the Jinn's ability to shapeshift or to take on the human form. And there are many examples of this. Now we can see, particularly within the Arabian traditions of the Ghoul, we see that the Ghoul is said to be eternally hungry. And so in Arabic we see that there's a wordplay in the Egyptian Arabic with Ghoul, which means to be hungry. Now the Ghoul has many different classifications. In esoteric symbolism and in the heraldic shields, typically you will see that the demon is often chained. We see this also on the Windsor shield, in which we have the unicorn, which technically is a Yale, which is a type of dragon. The horse, the stag, the goat are all symbols used to identify the Jinn, or the human angelic lineage. In this case, the unicorn is horned, which would represent the horned dragon. The unicorn is chained, and so is obviously a symbol of the Jinn, using the wordplay with the idea of sajin, which means to imprison.